I know that when I watch Big Bang Theory reruns, and then Howard will say something, I usually end up with saying pervert, and yeah, I guess that college roommate does talk a lot like Howard, good or bad. But if I wasn't fine with that, I wouldn't be friends with him. All right, now for the regularly scheduled jokes. It's getting near the end of the year, so that means I have to start using up days off or lose them. And doing Wednesday's work because it cuts the week in half. So this past Wednesday, I went to Mall of America because I don't live all that far from it. And I ate at a place I hadn't been at yet, but walked past a lot, which was Bubba Gump Shrimp. And no surprise when I get there and sit down at the bar, the movie Forrest Gump was playing. And I got there just in time for the part that I like the most, which is Lieutenant Dan screaming in the hurricane. Sometimes you just gotta scream, and I guess more about that later. And I ended up with an unexpected souvenir where I said, yeah, I'll do an icy drink, and then I ended up with the cup that it was in. And it's like, what color do you want? It's like, well, green's my favorite color. Green it is, then. But I'm quite aware of how Mall of America is, for lack of a better term, unique, where they have plenty of stores there that are the only ones in Minnesota. That's true with Bubba Gump Shrimp, and also with Long John Silver's, which I've eaten at, and there are only 3 A&W's in the metro area, and 2 of them are in Mall of America. Guess they get enough foot traffic to justify all of that, but it's like 2 in the same mall. Yep. And then after I was done with lunch, I went to the Illusion Museum. That had been on my list for a while. I have been to science museums and such, but nothing like this one. I'm the type that likes my space, so there are times where I'd skip an exhibit if too many people were around, and then I'd come back to it later. And then when I was at the souvenir shop buying 2 postcards, I said my head hurt a little from being at the Illusion Museum, having to process all those illusions. I'm sure I was not alone on saying that. And of course, I figured out after a while that sometimes it made a difference on what angle you took when looking at something or how far back you were going, where it's like, oh, now I get it. The one that I started off liking the most was the color exhibit, which was early on. I mean, just seeing my shadow color change based on where I was on it. So it's like, yeah, I'm not a science major, but I guess it was worth the price of admission for me. We'll go with that. All right. So I'm known as the banking place that eats tales from the bank, like tales from the crypt. Yeah, that river is not running dry anytime soon. This past week, I had a long day at work, and I said, I need to go somewhere nice to try to wash the day off of me. And that meant going to Arby's. We have the meats, as they say in the TV ads. I also like their curly fries. Why was it a long day? Because I had some idiot from another office that kept sending me instant messages asking me if I've seen his emails about the file. And I've dealt with him before, and I still don't like him. Why? Because I guess he thinks that I won't do my job unless he bothers me. And it's like, no, that don't work for me, because most people understand that I'll get around to it when I have the time. And then I even had to tell him twice, I'm going above and beyond here, dude, because the file these checks were approved late, but not good enough for him. All he said was something about 10% penalty on these tax checks if they don't go out on time. Well, I guess that means you should have sent them to me earlier. And there were a ton of them that I had to pull out of this file, 15 in all. And I recognized the names of where they were going to. They were all counties in California. And it's like, yeah, and I'm quite aware of how these tax checks are a big deal, because all of them are more than what I make a year, and some of them are for over $1 million, but I don't bat an eye anymore printing a check for over $1 million. Not for the big bank I work for. It may not be on the daily, but close enough that I see a check for over $1 million. He should be thankful he didn't get my colleague my vacation replacement, because that dude wouldn't have been near as kind to him. Oh, and the other notable thing about being at work this past week, it's feeling like more of a reality on finally moving to a downtown office, because we had the movers show up and have a convention this past week, and I was told to label whatever you want moved. Then I went to my vacation replacement who said, just slap a label on the entire building and call it a day. It's like, no, I wish it were that easy. And the room I work in has a lot of junk in it, and I don't think they want us to move junk. Now, if we need it, really need it, yeah. So it's still largely up to me, thankfully, on what we move. But yeah, in the end, it's like, yeah, things are changing. That's a little emotional, but I guess I'll just keep that to myself and just break down alone if it gets the least bit tough for me. But I already sent a greeting card to the branch manager, so it's like, yeah, I got that out of the way. I might get too busy near the end for all that. I do anything but hibernate, I'm finding out, during winter. I kept saying I love baseball games and museums, which are easier to find than war ones. But it's like this weekend, no joke, I had 3 events booked. I had to get gas at a Hy-Vee Friday night, and then I went to another Hy-Vee for groceries. And then after that, it was a cold night and I was tired, and it's like, can I just stay home? It's like, no, I can't. Because I bought a ticket to go dancing at the French Alliance in Minneapolis, and it's like, yeah, I already paid my money, damn it, I need to go. And I loved it once I got there. I even requested a Lady Gaga song, and I said thank you to the DJ after he played it. And it's like, yeah, I think it was a good idea where I said I should get my money's worth out of the event. But sometimes you still need to be motivated. Then I went to the holiday light display at the Saints Stadium. I liked how they did add a few things like tap my drum. Some kids had their turn at, and then I finally had my turn. It's like, oh, I get it. Beat on the drum and it lights up. Yeah, simple science, kind of like at the Museum at Mall of America this week. Near the end of the night, I did the big slide, and I'm thankful they put a hole in the donuts, then my butt wasn't on the track when I was going down the slide really fast. So yeah, I got screened there too. And then I went to a Minnesota version of the Nutcracker in Burnsville on Sunday, and it registered my laugh meter. I didn't think ballet would, but when they were carrying out the wind-up toys, I laughed. And then the ship captain picked up a fish girl, I laughed. It's like, okay, I guess it can be funny. But I liked it even more where I was at, where I had lunch right before I got there. I went to get pizza at the Speedway gas station. They had a cardboard cutout of Buddy Elf from the movie Elf. And I had to explain myself to the cashier, and I said, love seeing that Elf guy! And I bought Reese's peanut butter from the table. That's what they were doing, is advertising what was on the table. It's like, yeah, I guess your advertising works then. Well, that'll do it for me. Thank you all, been great.